it would probably be best to listen to this crisscross applesauce. Hi. Happy Libra New Moon. Wrote you a story. Wanna hear it? Here we go. Lydia joined the circus when she was 14. She started out working the ticket booth, but would volunteer for any position whenever a fellow carny was sick. The ticket booth was mind-numbingly easy, and she hated it and took any opportunity to do literally anything else in the hopes of finding some other permanent position. Having been on the road with them for 3 years, she'd tried her hand at almost every act there was. She had glued on a beard, drawn all over her body. She had danced the poles outside the tents to try to lure men in. She had even been able to give a few oddly accurate tarot readings. She enjoyed all of it, but what she really wanted to try was the tightrope. The outfits, the balance, the adrenaline. She knew she would have to be trained to do this, though, and she hated for anyone to see her fail at anything, so she put it off, and she put it off. I'm sure you know it's coming. So one day, the amazing May, resident tightrope walker, simply disappeared. No one was able to find her, and there was only an hour left before she was supposed to go on. Bob, the boss, came to Lydia. He said, "Here's your moment, kid. You have 45 minutes to practice before the tramp is pulled out, and you're the new, amazing, well, we'll have to figure out some other name for you." Eyes wide, terrified, Lydia stood up and began walking to the tent containing the tightrope. This was it. Oh, and one other thing. Lydia looked at Bob. Never mind. You'll figure it out. You always do. He started laughing. A little too hard, in Lydia's opinion. May's clothes were too small for Lydia, so she had to run to her trailer, and she threw on her shiny pink unitard that she had worn when Tatiana Tattoo had somehow gotten the chicken pox. Lydia and Bob had spent 2 hours drawing whatever they could think of all over her body. She added a tutu, thinking it might class it up a bit. By the time she got to the tent, she only had 30 minutes left to even try walking this tightrope for the first time. Excuse me. Oh shit, what if she couldn't do this? She climbed the ladder fast. She was in a rush. But once she was at the top, she just stood on the edge, staring at the rope she was supposed to walk on. The balance beam was her favorite when she was young, but this was very different. She stood on the edge. She stood on the edge, unable to decide, unable to move. Can I do this? Of course I'm going to do this, geez Louise. But if I'm going to do this, I better do it. She made about a step and a half before hitting the trampoline and flying into the air, glitter poofing out of her tutu. Back up the ladder she went. This is what she has always wanted to do, and dagnabbit, she was going to do it. Insert montage. Climbing up the ladder, arms flailing, fall, bounce, repeat. Probably to a gritty country song with a lot of determination. Insert moment of glory! 20 minutes of the up-down had Lydia pissed, and when she was mad, she put her mind to things. And she knew it would be her mind that got her across that rope onto the other platform. She was also terrified, because she knew she had about 10 minutes left before the tramp would disappear. Walking the rope a couple more times and becoming confident, Lydia had about 5 minutes left to add her own little flavor to the act. She ran to the back and grabbed a couple props. She was able to find a set of scales, which she embellished with rose petals and feathers. She walked the rope 2 more times with her prop before she had to go backstage and wait to be announced, to do this shit in front of people. What Lydia didn't know was that the amazing May was planning something special for tonight. It was basically the worst night for her to go missing. Really, very inconvenient. Maybe even rude. The amazing May had arranged for the tramp to be replaced with 11 rows of swords. So confident in her abilities, she thought she would have the audience on the edge of their seats, even throw in a controlled wobble for some real fake drama. Heck, let's do it blindfolded. Please welcome Lydia Liberty on the tightrope. She stepped onto her beginning platform, held her scales in one hand, and waved with the other. It was the first time her smile had been this real, and man, it must have been at least a year since she felt this excited. She knew she shouldn't, but she looked down. She looked down right as the stage kittens were rolling in the amazing May's sword rig. Guess they didn't get the memo. Gulp. There was nothing to do about it at this point. Lydia knew she couldn't yell, "Hey, I'm new. Bad enough if I break my neck. We don't need to make a mess." She wished. "It's fine. I got this. I was doing fine earlier, and I just have to make it across with a smile. If anything, I'll be all the more relieved once I get to the other side, right?" Lydia held up her scales, smiled, and sprinkled some feathers and rose petals down onto the swords, putting her hand over her mouth, trying to make her very real fear look like a joke, and giggled. She took 1 step, 2. She had 11 before she would be safe again. 5 steps, and her scale tilted. I guess her rose petals were heavier than a feather. Props if you get that. There was a strange comfort in the air that whooshed by her body as she fell, her tutu fluttering and her bun firmly in place, with the exception of 5 strands of blonde hair that, from her point of view, looked like they were defying gravity. The moment she was no longer falling, there was a cold, metallic shing through her body, which actually made her feel stupid for having expected more of a thud. I guess she hoped for more of a thud. The scale was gone, and blood was oozing from the corner of her mouth. Lydia's eyes blinked and faded into a deep, dark black. Men cocked their heads. Women clutched their pearls. Children began to cry. Shock had set into every soul under that tent, except for Lydia's. Her body began to rise. The audience was so silent they could hear her bones grinding and sliding against the swords as her body levitated beyond them. Her body shifted into a standing position with no ground, and she slowly turned in circles, like a ballerina in a music box. She was bleeding rose petals that sloshed to the ground, heavy with her blood, her tutu beginning to droop. Lydia began laughing. She was screaming, but it was laughter coming from her bloody mouth. That's when the amazing May came busting into the tent. There was a noose around her bruised neck and blood dripping from her fingertips, sourcing from the cuts on her arms. "You sick bitch." She met widened eyes with Lydia, and Lydia's shocked scream. And with Lydia's shocked scream, her weightlessness disintegrated and her body fell back onto the swords, creating fresh holes, blooming bright red bloodstains on her unitard. The rose petals on the ground ignited and turned to ash. The tent went silent. All that was heard was the wind and the leaves hitting the sides of the tent, and the amazing May panting so hard it had become a growl escaping her pulsing, sore throat. So, happy Libra New Moon! May your intentions be fruitful, and please, always make sure your sacrifice is fully sacrificed. Thank you.